What's up, everybody? Jordan here, back with another episode of the Fitness, Food, and Freedom Podcast. This is episode 473 of the show. Today, I'm talking about how to eat more food and not get fat. Well, we should say actually how to eat more calories and not get fat, because food necessarily, it just kind of means the amount of foods you're eating. I could eat 400 calories of broccoli and be eating a ton of food versus 400 calories of chocolate. This isn't about the volume of food you can eat. This is about how to eat more calories and not gain weight, or how to eat more calories and still lose weight if your goal is to lose weight. Of course, it would be a lot easier if you could eat a little bit more, right? This is something that's kind of been a project of mine for a long time. Improving my metabolism, improving how much I can eat because I like to eat and still make progress. And I realized a long time ago, it's exponentially difficult to lose weight once you have to get lower and lower in calories, which is somewhat inevitable as you do diet. But I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and the people that have to get down to 1,200 calories, 1,300 calories, 1,400 calories, those people, maybe they see progress at that number, but it's super hard to sustain, and those people typically don't make as good of progress because it's so difficult to sustain that low level of calories, right? That low level of energy for your body. The people that have more success are, to put it bluntly, the people like me that can eat 3,000 calories and still lose weight. People call it lucky. People see that and say, you're so lucky to be able to eat that much. What they don't see is all the work that went into it behind the scenes. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, is what is the work you can put in behind the scenes to eat more and still lose weight. So very recently, just to kind of recap where I'm at in fitness right now, raised my calories again in my muscle gain phase, kind of hovering around 205 right now for body weight, and initially was at like 3850, bumped up to about 4,100 for a little bit. Now I'm up to about 4,275, so just under 4,300 calories. Weight still kind of maintaining, going up maybe half a pound here and there, which is the goal right now. So big increases, right? I used to be able to gain weight on maybe 3,500 calories or so is about where I'm at. Now I'm, almost 1,000 calories more than that on average to see the same weight gain. There are a few days where I know that I under-tracked even in this last couple weeks. Like, I definitely ate more than what I tracked. I had a few little bites of the toddler food, maybe estimated oils and things like that. Didn't count veggies, little things like that snuck in. So I know I was even eating maybe 100 or 200 calories more than what I tracked, and I'm still maintaining weight and not gaining too fast. This is a powerful, powerful thing. I'm not doing this podcast to brag or flex or make you feel hopeless. What I'm doing is to show you there's a better way than starving yourself to see weight loss, or to gain weight really fast once you increase 100, 200 calories. It might feel like that to you, where you can barely increase your food and all of a sudden you're piling on weight. Like I said, though, there's a lot of things I've done behind the scenes that have helped, and I'm going to talk about those today. I have 10 different things that help me raise my maintenance calories by almost 1,000 over the last 10 years or so. That's a big key too, is that it takes a lot of time. To kind of talk about my calories, I have this weird phenomenon where if I try to gain weight, I kind of have to increase calories more than you'd think, right? Like my maintenance is usually around 3,300 to 3,500 calories, but I have to get into a big surplus to actually see weight gain. So my theory is that you just don't absorb and digest everything perfectly the same way. Bowel movements will increase. You're obviously not absorbing everything you're eating. Maybe food choices become a little more like simple, like white rice instead of whole grains, less veggies, that kind of thing. So you're not digesting everything perfectly. You're not necessarily absorbing all those calories you're taking in. And something I find is that there's this weird relationship where as calories go up to a level where you'd think I'd just start piling on weight, my energy also goes up and I burn more calories outside of the gym, walking around, having more energy to play with the kids, all that kind of stuff. And then also in the gym, pushing harder, moving heavier weights, putting more intensity into it. So I have more energy to push harder, and that burns more calories. So it kind of counteracts some of that increase. Let's get into the 10 things. I'm kind of just talking about my own experiences here. We'll get into the actual 10 points of things that help me raise my maintenance calories by just about 1,000. These are things you can do over the long term to help you eat more and still lose weight, or eat more and not gain weight. Remember, this is long term. You can't expect to implement all of these tomorrow and be able to eat 1,000 calories more. You'll have to implement these things for the next several years, and you will be in a much better place. And that's the tricky part about fitness, is that it is this long game. Number one is I spent a long time in high-calorie environments, meaning I very rarely cut my calories super low. I very rarely even did cutting phases over the last several years. Most of my year for the last 5-6 years has been hypercaloric, in a bulk, eating more than I'm burning, at least at maintenance calories. So if my maintenance previously was, say, 3,000, I spent most of my year eating in the 3,000 to 3,500 range, maybe even more. Very rarely did I dip below that. I believe the body does adapt a little bit to that. You get used to that. You learn to kind of process that amount of energy a little bit better. You become more efficient. And that's happened to me. So not only that, but you're going to encourage a faster metabolism and muscle growth, which kind of is the same thing. But that's going to really help you eat more as well, which is number two, build lots of muscle. To build lots of muscle, you do have to be hypercaloric. You have to be eating more than your fat loss calories. You can't be gaining muscle on 1,200 calories per day, 1,500 calories per day. You got to eat more to gain more. And gaining more muscle is going to pay huge dividends down the road. You're going to have more expensive tissue, essentially. Tissue that requires your body to have more energy to maintain. So when I talk about weight maintenance, maintaining my weight at, say I was, 12% body fat, 180 pounds several years ago. Now if I'm maybe 13% body fat, 14% body fat at 200 pounds, that's a lot more lean body mass that my body has to maintain. All of that is the work, right? This isn't something you can do overnight. That is years and years of proper training, proper diet, proper recovery, eating enough food, training well and intensely to gain muscle. A lot of people that have trouble dieting and are spinning their wheels and complain about having to eat so little don't hold very much muscle, and they don't spend very much time trying to gain muscle. One of the best things you can do for your fat loss results and progress is gaining, adding muscle tissue. And that's a really hard switch to make for people. I'm not talking about 8 weeks. I'm not talking about 12 weeks. I'm talking about 6-month stretches, a year stretches where your only focus is gaining muscle and gaining strength, which is number 3. Number 3 is build lots of strength. My 1-rep maxes as a measure of strength have gone up significantly over the past several years. And I don't really use 1-rep maxes. Maybe it's more like 3 or 5 or 6. But regardless, as a measure of strength, 1-rep max, for example, on the deadlift has gone probably somewhere around 400 pounds up to 550 or so. Maybe a bench press, I've gone from about 225 as a 1-rep max several years ago up to over 300 as a 1-rep max several years ago. It's impossible not to gain muscle as you do that, but further than that, having more strength, moving bigger weights in training actually burns quite a bit of calories too. Somebody who is equal size, gender, height, weight, everything, but has the ability to deadlift 600 pounds is going to burn way more calories deadlifting 600 than the person that can only deadlift 250. Same build, same everything, just more strength output burns more calories. So if you're interested in, burning more calories throughout the day, more strength is going to really do that. Plus, it does mean typically you're carrying more muscle around, more weight around, and that's going to burn more as well. So those things go together. Actually, the first 3 go together as a pair, a trio, I guess you'd say. You need to spend time in high calorie environments, which is a focus on gaining muscle and strength, which kind of go together. So most of your year should be in a surplus or at maintenance, gaining strength and gaining muscle. And I bet you, if you're listening to this podcast and your goal is weight loss, that is not what you've done. You've probably spun your wheels on and off again, dieted, fell off. Your training's focused on burning the max amount of calories. You're not really focused on strength and muscle. Switch the mindset to building, and you're going to see huge progress. A few years down the line, you do have to be patient, but you're going to be able to lose weight and make progress so much easier. Number 4 is the part that people like kind of bugs me, that people don't appreciate when they say you're so lucky you can eat that much. It's a high activity level in my lifestyle, or you could just put it simply, a high step count. People want to eat 4,000 calories a day, but they don't want to walk 15,000 steps a day, right? Or for me, if people really understood how much I'm moving around through the day, it would start to make sense how I can eat so much. I train every single day in the gym. I have a home gym, weight training. It's intense. It's every single day. I do cardio a few times a week, which is coming up here and what we're going to talk about. Dedicated running, right? And then I also am walking at least over 10,000 steps a day. In the summer, it's over 15,000. So if I'm working on my computer, I'm walking. I'm playing with the kids. I'm walking the dogs. I'm moving almost all the time. I don't really sit down until the end of the day. And that's a sacrifice a lot of people aren't willing to make. But if you do want to eat more, the best way you can do it, and actually the fastest way you can do it, because you can implement this next week and be able to eat probably a few hundred more calories per day, is just move a ton more than you're moving right now. Low intensity for the most part. Get those steps in. Number 5, I mentioned it briefly, is that I do cardio. My goal is mainly hypertrophy and gaining muscle and getting jacked and stacked, but I do cardio as well. This is for health reasons. It's for just being in good shape in general, and so I can eat more. And I do regular cardio even if I'm bulking. So right now, 4,300 calories or so, I'm still doing about 2 hours of light running per week. So I usually break that into 3 40-minute runs. Zone 2 runs, I'm at like 130 beats per minute heart rate if you're into the data. But they're light runs, right? I could easily talk to someone while I'm doing it. I'm just watching TV, jogging on the treadmill. That's how I prefer to do my cardio. You could do any type of cardio you like, but the idea is you're accumulating time throughout the week in that slightly higher than just walking intensity, right? I'm never really sprinting and doing insane high intensity cardio necessarily. My weight training takes care of that a lot, but what I am doing is doing it regularly, even in a bulk, even in maintenance. No matter the goal, I'm moving and I'm doing a lot of activity through the week. Number 6, this is something you could maybe tweak now as well, that has helped me eat more food. And that is, I time my carbs around training as much as possible. I do like a big carb dinner, and I will probably always keep that in. But as calories get higher, like in hypercaloric states, when you're in a bulk, take advantage of those carbs you're going to be getting and time them around your training. So now, because I train usually about noon or 1, I will have a 100 to 200 gram of carb breakfast, and then I'll have a lunch that's probably another 100 grams of carbs, and then post-workout, I'll have probably 50 grams of carbs. So I'm, getting a huge percentage of my carbs around training roughly. Breakfast is pretty removed from training by about 5 hours, but it is kind of all building up to that training session, and that's what I'm thinking about. I prefer to do that. I really think you kind of burn through that energy a little bit better if you're training with it. Might as well use the energy you have to take in to actually make progress. Number 7 is I like to keep fat a little bit lower. I have anecdotally found this to be very true with clients, is the higher fat gets, the harder it is to keep the weight from piling on as calories get higher, right? If I'm on 4,300 calories, just so you can kind of do the math here, I try to eat under 100 grams of fat per day, which is about 900 calories coming from fat. So the rest of my calories, roughly 33 to 3,500 calories come from protein and carbs. I think that math's about right. Most of my calories are protein and carbs, and then the fat kind of comes with some carb sources. Yeah, I like to use oils, and meats have some fat in them. In my breakfast, I add a lot of like seeds and nuts to my breakfast bowl, so that has some fat. But keep fat a little bit lower. Try to stay away from super high fat foods, and I think you'll actually see better results as far as metabolism is concerned, because there's nothing wrong with fat, but fat is most easily converted into body fat when you're in a surplus than anything else. So try to keep fat a little bit on the low side. I just find more carbs improves energy, training, muscle building, and you kind of just like go through it a little bit better than fat. Number 8 is to avoid untracked days if you can. You need to keep in mind what untracked days and going out to eat and cheat days and cheat meals, what does that do? That increases your total average intake for the week, right? This is the weight loss problem. It's like someone comes to me and says, I eat 1,200 calories a day and can't lose weight. The reality is they eat 1,200 calories Monday to Friday. They don't track the weekends, and they're maybe eating 2,500 calories each of those days. So they're having way more calories on average for the week than they think. A cheat day is even a worse example of this, where with an actual cheat day with cheat foods, you might be eating 5,000 calories in one day instead of, just a little bit over. You might be going really off the rails. Even just going out to eat and not tracking that, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to do, might spike your average intake more than you think. You need to keep things controlled if you truly want to make this claim that you can't eat more to lose weight. So this is kind of almost like you need to do an audit on, are you telling yourself the truth, right? I maybe in the past thought my maintenance was about 3,300, like I said, or 3,000. It might have been 3,000, but I probably also went out to eat 2 times a week. And now I go out to eat less because I have kids. I live in the country. It's just not something we do a lot now. So maybe just tracking a little bit more accurately and cooking food at home and avoiding all of that, accidental overeating has kind of increased what I think my maintenance is, but I might have been eating that all along. So the difference might not be as dramatic as you think. Avoid the untracked days. Number 9 kind of goes with number 1, where I told you to spend more time eating more calories than you're burning. Number 9 is to not spend too much time on low calories. Don't spend too much time in low calorie states. If you're going to diet, you'll have to diet, especially if you're bulking and trying to gain muscle. When you do a diet, try to keep it under 12 weeks. I like 6 to 8 week diets, fairly aggressive, and then get out of there. Get up to maintenance calories, get back into a muscle gain phase, take things in chunks. Don't fall into the trap of forever dieting. If you're dieting for 4, 5, 6 months at a time or longer, your metabolism is going to adapt slightly, drop your maintenance a little bit. More importantly, you're probably going to lose some muscle, and you're going to have less energy to train, and you're spending a good time of year not building muscle, which is going to help your metabolism overall. And the last thing is, when you eat, no matter what phase you're in, dieting, muscle gain, maintenance, eat micronutrient-rich foods. I find this makes a huge difference. It doesn't make sense scientifically necessarily, where I say I can eat a little bit more if I'm eating whole foods primarily. And it might just be tracking habits, and I'm fully aware of that. That if I'm eating cereal, chips, candy, I might track that a little bit more loosely and tend to overeat compared to whole foods like meat, potatoes, vegetables, fruits, right? But I do think at the very least, you're getting a little bit more energy to use in training and life. You feel a little bit better, so you move around more. Those micronutrient-dense foods go a long way in helping how you feel, which will help you burn more and be able to eat more. And that's really it. Those things, if you do those things, you're kind of changing how you live for the most part. Because to really truly eat more and still lose weight, or eat more before you gain weight, what did I go over, right? In a general sense, you're super active. You're timing your nutrition around being active. You're eating in a way that supports muscle growth. You're changing your mindset to be gaining muscle and strength. And you're essentially adhering to your diet way better than you were before. Everyone is a little bit different in what they eat, so I can't promise you can eat 1,000 more calories per day like I've been able to accomplish over the last 5 or 6 years. Genetics play into this hugely. Your size, obviously. Someone who's 5 foot tall, 110 pounds won't be able to eat 4,000 calories. I'm 6 foot tall, 205 pounds, so it makes sense for me a little bit more. Metabolism plays into it, right? Everyone has a slightly different metabolic rate. It's not drastic, though. I don't think you have a broken metabolism or a super slow metabolism. You might just not be doing some things correctly. And then fitness level, too, right? The level of advancedness you are. I can dial my nutrition in almost perfectly with very little effort. I can train super intensely with not a lot of change to how I push in the gym. Your fitness level will dictate what you can do. And like maybe you don't even have good enough fitness to walk around all day like I do and run 2 hours a week. Maybe you need to start slower, which means you'll have to eat a little bit less. And that's fine. You'll get there. And then just so you know, really the things that don't have an effect here on can you make these changes, age, time, and gender, right? This really doesn't have an effect. Your age doesn't have an effect on if these things will be effective for you. Metabolism's the same. It really doesn't change. Studies show that people 40, 50 plus really just have to eat less because they move less. And it's just pretty common that once we work, get older, retire, get in worse shape, we're going to move less, and that's going to result in having to eat less. Time. We all have the same time in the day, right? Find a way to work in the activity. It's no excuse. Gender doesn't play into this either. Hormones don't really play into this. You can definitely still make the metabolic changes I'm talking about regardless of age, gender, and time. Those things might make it harder or easier for you or might make it a little more confusing, but they aren't directly affecting these things. So those aren't excuses. I know that's hard to hear. And I know what I said today is a lot of work. You do have to put in the work to get there. But I'll tell you from someone who's on the other side, it is so nice to be able to eat more and still make progress. And if you want to have a much easier time getting to your goals and pushing yourself to those, following these different things I talked about, these 10 things are going to be a massive key for you. And that's it for today, everybody. Episode 473 of the podcast. Thank you for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple or wherever else. Have a great one, everybody. Be sure to go check out the Stoltz Fit YouTube channel for more great video content if you like the podcast. And I'll talk to you later. Peace.